Hello there, YouTube. Devin here again. Good morning. Happy Saturday to you. It's a wonderful, bright, terrible, cloudy, cold, -20 degree Fahrenheit day out there. Today I'm about to head to work after I shower and shave everything but my beloved French tickler. Today we're talking about what is often overlooked in the helmet world, but it's actually a really well-known design in a lot of regions of the world and among a lot of police forces. That would be the BK9 helmet. This is what this is. This is the BK9. Now it is a copy of the Schubert, which is, we all know, is the German really kind of like famous style of helmet. The shell is based off of the Schubert that is very similar. It has the same kind of plastic covering on it that the Schubert does. And it performs about the same as the Schubert, but it costs a heck of a lot less. This is made by a company out of Croatia and is exported to the 93, this is the BK9. This model came out in 1993 and it was exported to over 20 different countries. That's why it's incredibly significant. It was imported to, obviously it was used by the Croatian military, the Lithuanians, tons of Middle Eastern countries, and it was used by police forces all over the world, going as far as, France, Canada, Mexico, tons of countries like that. But they're really liked by like Saudi Arabia, and Yemen and Oman, and, a lot of those Middle Eastern countries really liked, this BK, 9 helmet, which is an actually really uncomfortable helmet to wear, but it is quite cheap, it is quite robust, everything's really easy to replace on it. It looks like a Schubert, but it has a bunch of extra screw holes, and that's because the 6 around the circumference here hold in the liner, and then each of these little extra ones on the temples and this bottom one here in the back hold in the chin strap, which means it's very easy to replace in the field. They're very good, high quality screws. You really aren't going to strip these out. They work really well. The liner is made out of nylon material, 100% nylon. It has almost a French style take on it too, with how it routes the sweatband through a bunch of different loops and stuff like that, making it very easy to replace, and the chin strap very easy to make. The suspension is based off of the US Pasget rather than the Schubert. So it's a really neat design with kind of a lot of mashups. It has a lot of really cool stamps in this one still. This one's actually in used but very good condition. Normally you find these absolutely beat to crap. And this is actually like an essential part of a lot of helmet collectors' collections, and it's actually incredibly hard to get because there's not that many of them out there, believe it or not. At least not many of them on the market. So this is if you are a helmet collector, it's very important you get one of these because of how many countries it was used by. Because you think of all the like Rolls-Royce helmets like the Schubert, and and the French F2 and the American Pasget and stuff like that, the very nice or like very early design helmets. This kind of falls somewhere in the middle. This is like a second generation Kevlar helmet. It was used by a lot of countries that couldn't afford those really nice models. So this is actually much more common to see on the battlefield, in the 90s and the 2000s than the Schubert would be, and stuff like that. So it's a very essential part of helmet collecting here, and it's a very neat design, and I'll show you that and everything when we flip the camera around and take a look at the liner. We'll be comparing it to what it's based off of, the Schubert helmet, and all that other good stuff right here, and so stay tuned for that. Alrighty, so here we have the BK9 on the left and the 826 Schubert on the right. As you can see here, it is made by this is a very kind of interesting helmet, and the shell is almost exactly the same, down to the color, the shape, all the other stuff, thickness, protection level. It's a weird kind of combination, but you see it's got this really strange kind of cheap liner in it, compared to the German one, and that's kind of what they were going for. They made these because the model of helmet was protected kind of as a whole, but the shell shape actually wasn't. So the Croatians were able to copy it without any like patent infringement or anything like that, and that's you could see the stamp, the beautiful stamp that's still in this one, which is really, really hard to find. Normally it's worn off. As you can see, they're very easily worn off. And then you can see the stamp there on the suspension that lets you know what size it is, which is an M, and when it was made. So this was made in March of 1996, which means this helmet is almost as old as I am, which makes me feel very old. But you can see here it's got a lot of stuff based off the Pasget, the same kind of suspension system here, although be it very simplified. It's made out of a kind of like cotton blend fabric and herringbone. The suspension is anyways, and then this nice leather sweatband, which is just adjustable by Velcro here in the back. So it's very easy to run around and replace and everything like that. And then they took the liberty of, in all their models, putting this nice foam triangle disc here in the back to keep the chin strap rear buckle here from like cutting into you, which is a very, very thoughtful thing. And the U.S. did that with paratroopers and stuff like that. Helmets, they gave these little triangle pads in the back separate, but they just basically included them, which is pretty nice. And those are normally like totally rotted out or missing off a lot of these BK helmets here. So unfortunately, the chin strap itself is made out of nylon. It's a very, very kind of coarse nylon. It's easily adjustable, which is Velcro tabs and brass buckles. That's one thing you don't see too much anymore on a lot of modern helmets. They have brass hardware because brass is a lot more corrosion resistant than steel is. It won't really rust, so to speak, and it's much more used to salt, and salt that you can find in human sweat and stuff like that will rust helmets out very easily. So they weren't made out of steel, they were made out of blackened brass. The chin cup is obviously covered in leather for comfort and everything like that, and to keep the helmet stable. It's a very actually stable and quite comfortable helmet. I think, other than obviously that crown pad is gigantic, so that doesn't distribute the weight very well. That means because the circumference of that ring at the top is so wide that it actually cuts into your head more than the Pasget does, because there's less straps distributing the weight and more on that ring of that cord up there, which makes it quite uncomfortable to wear for a prolonged period of time. But this helmet was designed to be cheap for people that couldn't afford this, obviously. So it's an interesting design, and it was adopted by so many different people in police agencies and militaries and security forces and stuff that it's surprised that there's not more known out there about this helmet, because it's a very widespread helmet. I think it probably gets confused for other models all the time, and a lot of people really don't know that this helmet exists, unfortunately. And it was used for quite a long time. It was replaced by the BK3 in the Croatian military, which the BK3 kind of came out in the mid-2000s. And it's more of a closer copy to the Schubert. It has a different liner and stuff, but it's a much more modern looking design than this one, than the BK9 helmet. The BK9 is a incredibly it's got a lot of mashups in it to make it very cheap and cost effective to produce. It's almost like one of the cheapest Kevlar helmets you could buy back in the day if you were a military looking to upgrade from steel helmets, or maybe get your first helmets in general. This was a very cheap option, and the BK3 is like an upgraded kind of nicer version of this, which is much better. A lot less holes drilled in the shell, which is going to obviously improve rigidity of the Kevlar and stuff like that. So now we will flip the camera back around here, and I'll show you what it's like wearing the BK9 helmet here. And it's going to look a lot like a Schubert and perform a lot like a Schubert, but I'll give you some looks and feels and everything on it, and then we will conclude the video. Alrighty, and we're back. So a few things about this BK helmet in particular. the BK9 that a lot of people don't, makes it a little bit more desirable to collectors, is that this is a very, very early one. They would have started production in 1993 technically, but you don't see any orders coming through until 1994. And the only order that was in 1994 was for like 4,000 helmets. But 1995 and 1996 are when they really, really kick up. And so that mark on the inside, that NB, stands for Nile Bush, which was the name of the company that produced it, everything like that. And later in 1996, in December of 1996, it would be changed to Sestan Bush, which is how most of them are going to be marked. So that just makes this helmet a lot more valuable to collectors. So if you find one that has the NB in the top rather than the SB at the top, it's actually more collectible because it's an early version and there was only about 2,000 of them made that have that marking. And now I will put this helmet on here, and we're going to describe how it feels. The chin strap is very stiff because of the nylon that it has. Alrighty. So yeah, this chin strap is incredibly stiff. It's comfortable, but it's a really stiff weave of nylon, so it doesn't want to flex or move or bend with you for the most part. But other than that, this is actually, if you adjust the helmet to yourself, it's a very quite stable, relatively comfortable helmet in the grand scheme of things. I could feel the little pressure points from where the chin strap is routed through, but it's not bad because of the fabric it's made out of being cotton. It's a relatively soft kind of cotton. A lot of those like weird kind of Soviet bloc countries and stuff like that in Yugoslavia used this kind of nice soft cotton that's somehow really strong in their helmets, and it's kind of like that. It feels pretty nice. This helmet is, surprisingly for as cheap as it is, very stable. That donut ring on the top, you can feel the weight. Now I have hair on the top of my head but not on the sides of my head. You can feel the weight cutting in more than on like a Pazgat. Even though this helmet is lighter than a Pazgat, it almost is more uncomfortable because of that. Because like I said, the straps that the crown ring are attached to are so much shorter. So the crown ring is such a larger diameter that it's more weight is on that cord that's the crown ring rather than the straps. So that's kind of uncomfortable. But overall, I'm actually kind of vastly impressed with this helmet. And for how cheap this helmet was compared to the Schuberth, I see why a lot of countries went to this helmet. So now we're going to obviously show you the profile and everything like that. So this is it from the front profile. This is it from the right side profile. This is it from the rear profile, and now my hood is going to kind of simulate modern body armor with the collars and stuff on it. We're going to see how this helmet bites, which I assume this helmet will do pretty well. Yeah, it doesn't bite at all because, once again, the chin strap comes up so high. It's such a high V on it that it doesn't really bite. It does get a little tight though because the chin strap doesn't flex it at all. Unfortunately, because that's nylon they made it out of. It is very stiff fabric, so that's a little uncomfortable, but it doesn't bite, which is good. The helmet doesn't want to rock forward going prone, which is pretty nice. So, and this is the now left side profile of the BK helmet. So yeah, I'm actually overall really impressed with this helmet. I'm glad I have an early example this nice in my collection. Although it's a very cheap Kevlar helmet being made, they're going up in price because most of them were just used into oblivion, pretty much, or they're currently still in use, so they're just not on the market because these are obviously, you know, more expensive than steel helmets, and the countries are getting their use out of them, so they're running them into the ground. So they're very hard helmets to find outside of like Croatia or probably the countries that use these, like Lithuania and stuff like that, as their major military helmets. And a lot of them have been replaced, you know, now going on 10 plus years ago. So it's pretty hard to find these out there. But if you do, I highly recommend you find one. They get confused for other helmets. Hopefully this video will do really well at explaining what this helmet is if you do see one, and why you should have one if you can indeed get one, because they were used all over the Middle East and all over a lot of Soviet bloc countries that really couldn't afford the nicer models of helmets. But that doesn't make this a bad model of helmet. Like I said, I'm actually pleasantly surprised with how nice this thing is and how comfortable it is for what the unit cost was back in the day. So, but I don't expect this video to do really, really well as far as views, because people aren't really looking for these because they don't know they exist. So I guess we'll see. I suspect it's going to do probably pretty poor though, and the algorithms will probably hurt me a pretty good amount. This is one of the videos that when I did it the first time around on the chair, did absolutely terrible because nobody knew what it was or what it was called or what they were looking for. So hopefully I have enough polls. So that would really help if you know somebody that doesn't quite know what a helmet is, and it looks kind of like this. Send them the link to this video, help them out, spread the information, because unfortunately this video won't be doing all that well. It's going to get information out there, I hope, which will help people learn what they have or what they potentially can have. So thank you all for stopping by. It means the world to me that you guys watch these videos and all the other good stuff and in their entirety, because it really helps me in the algorithms. Leave a like, leave a comment. If you want to support the channel, I will leave a link to the Patreon in the description. That obviously the money goes back into the channel to help me get like my brand new 4K webcam for live streaming and editing software that you're now seeing in this edited video and stuff like that. So it all goes back into the channel, and it goes a long way to really, really support the channel. And if you're interested in helping me do a little crowdfunding for a huge World War I project, I'm trying to raise $200. There is a link to the my PayPal in the About tab of my channel. So if you go to my channel, you'll see, you know, videos, playlists, blah, blah. All the way to the right is About, or you can hit the little contributions tab on my banner, and it'll take you right there, and there will be both the Patreon and the PayPal links there. If you want to throw a little bit of money at me in a one-time type of thing, PayPal's the best way to do it, where I get all that money. I don't have to pay any taxes on it or anything, and it goes a lot further. So thank you all for stopping by. Hopefully I will see all of you in the next video. Bye-bye now.